TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. A hostage release arrangement in exchange for a pause in fighting and the release of a group of convicted Palestinian terrorists, amongst others, has been postponed by 1 day. Jerusalem reaffirms its resolute intention following the looming pause to continue with the war until Hamas is fully eradicated. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant asserts that all Hamas leaders, irrespective of where they are, live on borrowed time. The looming hostage release deal in exchange for a list of Israeli concessions has been postponed by 1 day. Israeli National Security Advisor Tzachi Hanegbi asserted following the government's decision yesterday early morning that the first round of hostage releases would be carried out according to the original agreement between the sides, but not before tomorrow, that after Hamas essentially refused to sign the initial arrangement and made a few fresh demands. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, alongside Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz, addressed the nation following the government's approval of the hostages exchange arrangement.
We have clearly defined the goals of the war: eliminate Hamas, free our hostages, and ensure that on the day after Hamas, Gaza will no longer constitute a threat to Israel. We said that we would act to create the conditions for returning the hostages, and we created them. What paved the way to the current outline is the combination of two main efforts. The first effort is the massive, relentless military pressure that we are using against Hamas. I want to commend the IDF and the ISA for the immense work that they are doing to create this pressure. The second effort is the great diplomatic pressure that we are using for the release of our hostages. We conducted difficult negotiations. We fought to improve the outline.
Netanyahu further noted that the arrangement that was brokered by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar would also include visits by the Red Cross to visit all of the hostages in Hamas captivity, despite the fact that the Red Cross claimed to be unaware of such an arrangement.
I have just spoken again with President Biden and thanked him for acting, as per my request, with the intermediaries to significantly improve the outline. Such an improvement has been achieved. This combination of the military and diplomatic efforts created the conditions for returning our hostages. I believe that this combination will also facilitate the release of additional hostages in the next stages. The outline that has been achieved does not include the release of murderers. It does include visits by Red Cross representatives to the hostages and the delivery of medicines to them. I heard that there is someone denying this. The Red Cross says that it has not heard. Then here is the explicit clause: the Red Cross will be allowed to visit the remaining hostages and provide them with needed medicine. I expect the Red Cross to do its work.
The Israeli premier went on to highlight the tough decision that was required to adopt the arrangement with the murderous terror group Hamas, and tried to justify the decision to the Israeli public by asserting that Israel's defense establishment reassured the political establishment that it would not hamper Israel's war efforts vis-à-vis the Gaza Strip.
As Prime Minister of Israel, I frequently face tough decisions between a difficult choice and an even more difficult choice. It is especially so on the issue of the hostages. The effort to bring all of them home is ongoing, and at this time we can achieve the release of infants and children, mothers and women, who have swords at their necks. This is the precept of redeeming captives which we have a moral obligation to carry out. The IDF and all of the security services fully support the outline. They reiterated at yesterday's government meeting that the security of our forces will be assured during the days of the pause and that the intelligence effort will be maintained during these days. And the IDF will, at this time, be preparing for the continuation of the war.
Despite growing speculation about Israel's capacity to restart the war in Gaza in force following the so-called humanitarian pause, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant insisted that the reason which triggered the war remains deeply engraved within each and every Israeli, and that the Israeli defense establishment will stop at nothing until the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates in Gaza are eradicated.
ב-7 באוקטובר חמאס פתח במלחמה כנגד
On October 7th, Hamas launched a war against the state of Israel.
את מדינת ישראל.
They were under impression that Israel would crumble when they raised the flag of Hamas in the center of the Negev desert, and that their brutal murder and their heinous actions would deplete Israel's will to exist and struggle further. They were wrong and made a grievous mistake. The result will include the destruction of Hamas. On the very day when Hamas committed its monstrous acts of murder, it condemned Gaza's fate and condemned the fate of Hamas.
It is important to know that the intelligence agency Mossad has been given the green light to take action against the leaders of Hamas, whoever and wherever they are, with Defense Minister Yoav Gallant declaring that all of Hamas leaders are walking dead men living on borrowed time.
You can pass on to them, through your broadcast, that they are living on borrowed time. From my perspective, our struggle against Hamas spans over the entire globe, from the terrorist who runs around with a Kalashnikov and tiger-patterned cloths, and meetings the Golani or Javadi brigades in the battlefield, all the way to those who are flying in luxury airplanes and are having a good time while the actions of their proxies are perpetrated against women and children. They are all children of death.
Meanwhile, in the heart of Gaza City, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Herzia Levy visited his troops in the field, during the course of which he emphasized that the war is not over. Moreover, the top IDF officer stressed that the conditions set by the forces on the field aims to set the conditions for all of the war's objectives, including the desire to return all of the hostages who were abducted by Hamas and its terror affiliates home.
We are trying to connect the goals of the war so that the pressure from the ground operation brings about the ability to also achieve the goal of this war, to create the conditions for the release of the abducted hostages. We are not ending the war. We will continue until we are victorious, going forward and continuing in other Hamas areas.
IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Agari subsequently announced during his daily press briefing that the IDF, in close cooperation with all relevant authorities, are vigorously engaged in preparations for the hostage release arrangement.
The IDF, in cooperation with all relevant authorities, conduct an orderly process to receive the hostages. The separate IDF command centers within the Human Resources Division and Intelligence Command Centers have in recent days completed preparations for the implementation of the decided outline. We are continuing our activities these very hours as part of the preparatory work. We have a duty to do everything possible to return the hostages, elderly, women and men, and of course, the children. Our children. We are talking about a complex process which has not yet been concluded and can take time as part of a period that includes a number of stages. I want to emphasize this. This hasn't materialized yet and it can still take time until a moment of agreement.
Amid continued ballistic missile and one-way drone attacks, which the Yemeni Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe, launches toward Israel, alongside its piracy of commercial shipping in the area of Bab el-Mandeb, Admiral Hagari highlighted the following.
The subversive activity by the Houthis, and in this instance, as was unveiled by intelligence in the United States yesterday, which indicates that Iran finances and supports the Houthis by means of weaponry and operational activities. Iran's malign activities in this region that leads to the Houthi fire toward Israel, arms them with weapons and intelligence, and creates actions that threaten the region. This is a global problem and not just an Israeli problem. This malign behavior aims to frustrate our focus on Gaza and our war aims. We are focused on Gaza and our war aims. We will know how to protect ourselves, and we will respond at a time and place of our choosing.
ונגיב בזמן ובמקום שאנחנו נבחר.
Earlier today, the naval commander of the Houthi-led terror army visited the pirated commercial vessel, during the course of which he pledged to further disrupt maritime shipping in the area of Bab el-Mandeb.
We say to the Zionist entity that the Bab al-Mandab Strait is a red line, and we cannot stand idle. Any civilian or military vessel is considered a legitimate target for us. We also warn those allied with the Zionist enemy and who secure its passage through the Bab al-Mandab Strait that they are also considered a legitimate target. We will remain fully prepared and carry out combat missions until the Zionist entity ceases its attacks on Gaza.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I'd like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our daily updates and would like to help us bear these costs, of the various productions of course, since TV7 Israel is 100% donation-based, please consider making a donation. You can do so by visiting our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our upcoming TV7 Israel updates. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.